There's a reason why I say 80% of things are BS, okay? And the reason why I say that is because if we're being honest with ourselves about the amount of things that have actually came to pass that people have predicted in terms of what the government is trying to do, what's coming our way in terms of legislature change, things like that. If we're being honest with the number, it's almost zero. Okay, it's almost zero. And that isn't to say things don't get predicted. That isn't to say real whistleblowers aren't a thing. That isn't to say real things aren't happening all the time. That is just saying that among all of the things that get said about this stuff, almost none of it happens. Like, you know when something's real, when something's gonna happen, when something is at least an attempt to change the trajectory of your life and well-being, liberty, all that, is when something starts off as maybe something that's not anything you'd ever foresee as being a big deal, and then it blows up into a huge deal like COVID. And I pray not the Ukraine conflict, but you know, it's something that starts off small and then works its way into being this super big thing that you cannot get around or behind. It's a lot easier to rally the masses of people that we have on this planet behind little narrative talking points like those guys over there are the bad guys and we have to kick their ass and you have to help us no matter what. It's a lot easier to get behind that in terms of, like, let's say like 9/11 for example, than it is to say, hey, we've been over there since like the 1950s and we've been like fighting the Russians like through these people's politics and land and blood, but you know, we're gonna keep doing it. Literally everyone would tell you to get fucked. Everyone would and should tell you to get fucked. You can't get people behind that, but you can get them behind the little things. Nobody talks about us being over there meddling in things like politics and policy for over 30 years and fighting our adversaries on their soil. No one talks about that. We only talk about 9/11. These little talking points is what's going to snare us into a fucking downward spiral as a society, as a planet, if we don't stop giving in to them. Yes, things get called out all the time, like the overreach of the NSA, stuff like that absolutely happens and is happening all the time. Real corruption is happening. But these truths, these little nuggets, these little trinkets of truth are thrown in, and you have to sift through this mass amount of bullshit to get to them. And why that is because you have to do the work to actually get to the real conspiracies, I would argue, and they don't want that. They don't want you to do that work to get in there. So it's easier to believe that everything is bullshit, along with the lizard people and the underground bunk and whatever you want to call it. Like, however obscene and absurd you think things are, it's easier to throw it all into one group. You know, like, hey, if you know, okay, so there's no lizard people, then corruption must not be happening in foreign policy or our government. Like, that must not be a thing either. It is, and it gets deeper and it gets scarier.